Welcome everyone to Razorleaf's webinar series, Unpacking 3D Experience. Today's topic is the intersection of PDM and PLM and will be presented by Razorleaf's 3D Experience expert, Kip Speck. We will be sending you the recording of today's webinar within the next day or two. And also, if you have any questions during the webinar, please pop them in the chat and we will answer them at the end. And with that, I will turn things over to Kip Speck.
Thank you very much, Maggie. I appreciate it. Today we're going to be talking about the intersection of PDM and PLM, and we'll get that kicked off and see how it goes. My name is Kip Speck, with over 15 years in PLM and PDM industry, mainly focusing on Dassault, PDM, and PLM. I'm a pre-sale solution architect with Razorleaf. I was a co-founder of a reseller, and I've worked for other resellers, as well as this is my second term at Razorleaf. 𝘼𝘼𝙊𝙆𝙊𝙄𝙉 has been involved with PLM and PDM for the past 10 years of his career. He has helped clients develop solutions to their PLM and PDM challenges at Razorleaf for the past 3 years. He has experience with dealing with customers who want to know whether PLM or PDM or both can answer their business process needs. At Razorleaf, our business is servicing and supporting customers. We are vendor agnostic, and we have over 20 years experience in PLM, PDM in the entire scope of implementation, supporting and growing our customers' enterprise solutions. At Razorleaf, we specialize in implementations by defining clear, measurable goals, mitigate risk, and assign talent and resources to drive success. Migrations with guaranteed accuracy by mapping out data requirements, preventing data gaps, troubleshooting and missing data, and rigorous validation planning and testing. Our support and training for our customers is first class with help desk, hourly contract or subscription, and support of all phases of the implementation while providing key metrics. Razorleaf ensures you have the skills available with staff augmentation to your internal team and to accelerate your projects. Additionally, Razorleaf provides test automation with detailed success plans, installing test automation software for PLM upgrades, customizations, and continuous training and testing and validation. When you look at the landscape of the enterprise tools, we see project management, product management, data management, quality management, manufacturing execution, ERP, and MRP. These all play a role in business, and each are specialized to their solution. Today, we are looking at the intersection of PLM and PDM. We will look at some pros and cons to each, where they overlap. Using a restaurant and recipes analogy, we'll look at how PLM and PDM are critical to the business. PDM is like a restaurant's recipe book. A recipe defines the meal with very detailed instructions on the measurements, units of measures, ingredients, suppliers of goods, cooking temperatures, cooking times, even preparation methods, and in some cases alternative and substitutions. The recipe gets revised to meet customers' taste, and the revisions are tracked meticulously. The characteristics of PDM, it is a system that is design driven, usually around a single discipline or maybe two disciplines like mechanical or electrical engineering. PDM is a solution for work groups like engineering, and typically it is file centric. PDM supports CAD management, document management, bill of materials derived from CAD data. PDM's revision control is usually customizable and flexible to the engineering needs. PDM workflows are also flexible and customizable to the engineering needs. PDM for the engineering domain drives efficient working processes by having flexible and easily customizable workflows and events, and structured data management. Because it is engineering-centric, PDM is tightly integrated with CAD systems, and it typically tends to be industry agnostic. Tight management with CAD data ensures revision control for reference models and drawings and related documents. Because PDM is designed to be very good at being engineering-centric, it excludes other enterprise domains such as manufacturing, product management. This inherently creates an engineering silo. Most PDM systems are still file-based CAD and document management. PLM is more like the entire restaurant, managing not only the recipes and the recipe books, but also managing suppliers for ingredients, the correct ingredients, the line processes, ensuring the timing of all the events to ensure that the plate of food is what the customer ordered and delivered at the right temperature. Also managing the creation and refining of dishes and menus. PLM is a business-driven set of systems used to orchestrate product maturity from the ideation to product production and service. PLM typically encompasses PDM system and the engineering domain, along with many other domains in the product development cycle, such as systems engineering, requirements management, product definition, configuration management, change management, and project management, to name some of those. PLM natively supports the digital twin, digital thread throughout the entire enterprise. PLM strengths. The digital technologies transform your business model by integrating processes across the enterprise. Enterprise-wide usage of information and content, such as engineering definition and design data, that is shared across domains instead of duplicating data. Things like when engineering creates a 3D model of a component or a part or an assembly, a good PLM system allows the data and the 3D model information to be shared between different domains or different areas, such as engineering and manufacturing engineering. Portfolio management and product management, such as product models, variants, and configurations. Whenever you launch a new product and over time it evolves with new configurations or variants and options and things like that, you have to be able to manage those types of that type of information and rules. So think about like the Ford F-150 truck. There's the XLT version, there's the King Ranch, the Lariat. There's a lot of different versions of the F-150 and different options and different colors and things like that. So managing all that data through your portfolio management and product management aligns with your CAD data as well on the different models or different components of 3D data that goes with that. So then also managing requirements in the system to say that the electric vehicle batteries have to last a certain amount of time, or the material has to meet certain requirements. Things like that all have to be managed and linked to the design and engineering. So when engineering is making a model, they're making it to specifications that were defined with requirements. And if those requirements change, it affects, or you have visibility to what engineering data and all the way downstream to manufacturing and other areas of what impact changing a requirement will have, or adding a different variant or new option to the product configurations. How do you manage the models to say that, okay, we now have another model or a new configuration of the 3D data that needs to be aligned with the definition of the product as well. So you can start getting into bill of materials or engineering definitions, the 150% BOM, 100% BOM, the configured BOM, and things like that. So not just your CAD data, but also managing all the model versions, the variants and rules and things like that that go into it. Then on top of that, you have project governance to ensure and manage as a team the deliverables, the tasks, the phases, what risks and benefits, and ultimately the delivery of these products, right? So you have to be able to have governance across the tasks and things that need to happen, especially when you have a design time, and some design processes take years, some take months, and some even take weeks. But knowing the status of, is this requirement done, is this document done, or is this 3D model and drawing completed, being able to track all that in a digital way that gives you a dashboard that says here's all the completed parts, or things that have been delivered, or here's the structure. Even in a 3D view, you can see the models and things like that that are there and what's missing as well. So this entire enterprise is connected to the digital thread with common structures or a common data model of objects and data and information, and allows you to share different tools that interface with that data. And those tools are meant to be for that specific role of a person: a product manager, or configuration manager, engineering manager, or manufacturing engineer. They all have different tools to interact with the same data in a way that makes sense for them. Now, a couple of limitations, or maybe not limitations, but they're some things to consider. When you start looking at a PLM, it has a longer implementation time because you are covering a great deal more of your business processes inside of the PLM, the implementation of it. So it's not just an engineering. I'm not just talking to engineering about what their processes are, but I'm also talking to project management, quality management, all these different areas to figure out what their processes are so it can interact with the system correctly. You also have the ability to do an on-premise architecture, which with larger PLM systems, because they are larger, they're much more complex. They have more servers, more requirements, more database setups, things like that, than just a PDM alone, right? And when implementing a PLM system, sometimes organizational change is often required during adoption. And what I mean by organizational change is that, if you're moving from one system to the next, people have to be encouraged, or be able to see where they're going to go, or how they're going to continue to do their job, or how their job is going to change. And they need to be trained and brought through that process. Right? So organizational change helps you manage that change in your business and the tools that people have been using maybe for years, or maybe even a decade. So being able to bring your people along with this change or the implementation of PLM, even going from one version of a PLM to another, it may be a drastic enough change that you change the interfaces, or change methodologies, or you've decided to decustomize, things like that. So during an implementation of PLM or an upgrade of a PLM system, you have to consider these things. And some people will see them as limitations, or things that are maybe not negatives, but things that you have to consider. So when you think about PLM, think about it, it's a very broad tool. And in some of the systems out there now, and some of the more modern ones, they allow you to adopt smaller pieces at different times. So you might adopt only the PDM part of it first, and maybe then you add in configuration management, or change management, or classification management. Maybe you layer on things as you mature with the product. So you don't have to implement everything all at once. And you also don't necessarily have to rip out your PDM system that you are using, right? So how do you integrate, or how do you bring them together? So on this slide, what I wanted to look at and kind of give you a visual, it's by no means a comprehensive, it's not comprehensive of all the areas. Some of them to highlight how complex the enterprise really is. Some of the areas, such as requirements management, configuration management, engineering definition, work instructions, process planning. And when you see things like requirements, configuration, change management, project management, they span across all of these enterprise applications. So if you look at change management, it's part of PLM, PDM, MES. It could even reach into your MRP and ERP system, right? So the intent is that if you identify a problem in manufacturing, you should be able to raise a concern or a request or an issue against that object, and then have that change request or that issue propagate into your PDM and PLM system to the appropriate groups and roles and objects that it belongs to. So I shouldn't have to have two separate, completely disconnected processes that don't ever talk to each other. So it's not always possible for everybody to adopt a single system to cover it all. So sometimes you will have separate MES, MRP, ERP systems that need to integrate with your PDM, PLM across change management or BOMs or engineering definitions and manufacturing definitions. So being able to sync data between the two. But understanding where that data comes from, is it coming from the PLM side of product definition or requirement management and the document management piece of it? Where does it come from and where's it going to? Who owns it? What's the data synchronization and things like that? It is important, but understanding what all systems that affects. So like I said, you may have a manufacturing definition that they got the engineering structure from in their 3D model. Manufacturing might take it and say, okay, I have to rearrange a lot of these components to be able to manufacture it. Maybe they have to take 3 or 4 parts of it, put it into one process to weld them together, then send it over to plating or paint or something, and then get it to another part and add some bolts or things like that to the assembly. So manufacturing definition may be that they have to split up or rearrange the engineering definition, right? So an ideal PLM system will allow that to happen or facilitate that in a way that the CAD data doesn't have to be duplicated. You're creating structure for each definition. For engineering definition, they have theirs, and manufacturing has their definition of that structure and how they can create kits, let's say, in manufacturing or other things that to aid in the manufacturing process. Manufacturing might also need to say, I'm going to build out my stations, my workstations of what components get assembled, bolted together, welded together, and things like that based on the engineering definition. But they have to be able to create their own structure to be able to do those kind of things. Additionally, things to think about: work instructions. The 3D data, the 3D design was created in PDM and PLM, and that data, that 3D design data, is used in the work instruction, right? And then maybe there's some documents that were created as well that are also used in those work instructions. Well, if you edit or change the CAD data, you want it to show up, or you want it to be linked with the work instructions so that they are updated when you do your change management and your effectivities or your the additional items that you have to revise. So you have to be able to see what's linked to that CAD data, not just other CAD data, but what work streams what items downstream of it, like work instructions, manufacturing plans, manufacturing structures, and things like that. So having connected systems becomes very important in today's digital thread, right? So if you look at this, what I'm trying to present to you is how things, where the intersection of these kind of things are. And it's not just CAD data, and it's not just PLM data. These things are, they are typically owned in certain areas, but that data usually is shared across other pieces, components, and then into other systems as well. So again, the idea is just to kind of give you an overview, or to present to you that things like CAD data and documents are also, and work instructions may have been created in MES, or they may have been created in PLM, right? And then shared to MES, right? Process planning, it needs the information from PLM to understand maybe there's requirements that it needs to get. Maybe there's product configuration information, right? Maybe there's alternate and substitutes part of a bill of materials that it needs to be able to get. So a lot of that data and a lot of the information, is defined in one place. And to keep from having to copy data from one system to the next and trying to keep it in sync and things like that, having systems that are linked together, or having a system that moving from just a standalone PDM, maybe using a PLM with PDM in it, is a better choice. Or as you mature as a company, you adopt a PLM to move into that space because you're just maturing into that kind of position. Right? So elevating business maturity, how PLM expands capability. It extends beyond the design phase to integrate data and processes across departments, including manufacturing, sales, service, supply chain management. It enables cross-functional collaboration, driving efficiency across the entire business, and supports continuous product innovation. And it allows you to adopt and adapt quickly. So instead of a change taking 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, maybe cutting that time down to 1 or 2 weeks or a few days, right, to be able to decide to make a change, things like that. Or if there's a new idea or there's a new product, a new variant or new option that wants to be introduced, how do you get that into the system without wrecking the entire design process? How do you adopt a new feature, things like that? Right? So PLM links engineering with other departments, creating a seamless flow of information. So why stopping at PDM is short-sighted. Companies that rely solely on a PDM often struggle to scale operations beyond managing files. They also start to try to find creative ways to customize a PDM system to say, well, I can get manufacturing here. I can add them to my PDM system and I can build a workflow for them so that they can review CAD data, things like that. You can always try to extend the intent or the purpose of the system, but are you trying to make it do something it isn't really designed to do? And some companies do that in a short term or because that's what they can do at that moment. And not to say that's an extremely bad thing or you should never do it, but it's a business decision to do those kind of things. But once you start expanding or customizing a system to do something it's not meant to do, you should start looking at the other systems of what they're meant to do, right? So without the broader integration provided by PLM, there's a lack of visibility and a collaboration. So we have these silos again. So if the data in my PLM, for, like I said, the work instruction or the requirements definition for a material or a specification or a test case was defined in PLM for a specific requirement, but that's all in PLM, and then in my quality, if they don't have access to it, how do they know what the test specifications are without going in and extracting data or asking somebody to email it or things like that, right? So you want to be able to have that without duplicating data, because duplicating data, it creates more friction in the process, which creates more time, and it creates more confusion, and it creates more complexity of data with duplication, right? So the risk of future disconnection as you grow, like I said, you may keep trying to make PDM do something it's not meant to do. So you keep making departments more disconnected, and then that drives inefficiencies, and it continues to isolate engineering, or it doesn't advance engineering to being the group or the center of a PLM where they can actually better affect the design of the products and configurations of those products, right? So integrating PDM and PLM, at Razorleaf we have a platform called CLOVER, and what CLOVER does, there's several components of CLOVER. There's integrate it, migrate it, collect it, and there's a lot of different components to it. But our CLOVER platform It looks at all of your different endpoints, your PLM, ERP, CRM, MES, things like that. And then it looks at where is the data coming from, like your requirements, traceability, systems engineering, your change management process and things like that. And how do those things happen and what systems are they in? Because like I said, not every company can just say, hey, we're going to go adopt one system. Some companies have legacy systems. They may have a legacy PDM and a legacy PLM, right, where they're not talking to each other or they talk together poorly, right? So, or they only get certain information, and maintaining those systems, like upgrades is very expensive, So sometimes, if you look at how do we integrate those and have a platform that does that integration for us, so it has less of an impact when we do upgrades, or if we want to expand the endpoints to MES or ERP with data from my PLM PDM, how do we do that, right? And so what Razorleaf has is they have a product called CLOVER, and I'm sure we can give you more information if you're interested. I'm not trying to do a sales job, but I'm also trying to tell you, look, there's ways to integrate systems. So not everybody and not every company can or is willing to do that or has the budget to do those kind of things all at once. So CLOVER gives us some abilities to maintain the systems you have and integrate them into others as well. So transitioning to from PDM to PLM, understanding not just the source and target data, but also the system requirements to provide advice and guidance on how the data can be transformed, to match the target system. At Razorleaf, we've had experience across multiple industries dealing with determining the right number of rehearsals and migrations or complete data migration, robustness, minimizing the risk of data migrations, a very thorough scoping process, providing data clarity and precision, using strong project management that assures project moves along correctly. If you decide to migrate from one system into another, how do you deal with revision history from your PDM or even another PLM into another PLM, right? So, or even upgrading, right? Not all, and if you look at some of the newer or more, some of the newer PLM systems, the object models are so different than what they were before. Migrating, there may have to be a data transformation from one system to another, right? So understanding what that is and how to move from those into those other systems is a very important thing. And it takes skills and understanding processes and businesses and doing workshops and understanding your needs, right? So what Razorleaf could do for you: migrating data from PDM to PLM, integrating PDM and PLM, integrating PDM with other systems, supporting existing PDM PLM systems, project management, so support we can offer. Razorleaf can do a lot of things to help you in your business transformation or helping you with your road mapping, or helping you with your road mapping for, what's the time frame to do this kind of transformation. Razorleaf's there to help you. And we certainly can help you with those kind of things. So to recap, PDM was like managing recipes, while PLM was like running the entire restaurant. Think about how PLM can help mature your business processes and support future growth. Please feel free to contact us at Razorleaf for a consultation to explore how you can move beyond or integrate PDM and fully leverage the power of PLM. And fully leverage the power of PLM. And I'll open it up for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kip, very much. That was great. Let me just check on the questions. We have a couple of them. And everyone, if you have questions, just put them in the question box and we will get to them for you. Kip, is it possible to integrate SolidWorks PDM Pro with 3DX and still manage the CAD and the EPDM Pro?
Yeah, it is. Understanding, I think we kind of talked about it earlier, in how you integrate it, whether it's with CLOVER or custom integration, point to point, or other methods, it is. And understanding, and I think the key to that is understanding who owns the source data. What do you want to do with your 3D data? Is it going to transition into 3DX? But integrating the two of them is very possible. And being able to share that data across the systems is good. EPDM or PDM Pro is a very good tool. So a lot of companies want to continue to use that, but also use 3DX or other PLM systems to get the benefits of all the product data management.
Okay, great. We have one more here. You mentioned configurations. Are you referring to SolidWorks configurations?
A little bit of both. In SolidWorks, configurations are used in many different ways, sometimes to represent different display states of parts, and also maybe configurations are used for different part numbers or dash numbers of a part. So SolidWorks configurations have to be managed, and this is where the integration with PDM is very tight. But with your PLM, you need to make sure that if that configuration is a part number and it's related to a certain product definition, how that configuration is related to that. And in 3DEXPERIENCE, speaking of that, it does manage product configurations with models and model versions, product models and model versions, and you're able to link those to the specific configurations of SolidWorks. So it works with both. So both topics are addressed between the PDM and the PLM.
Okay, great, thank you. And I have one more question. What role does CLOVER play in collection of data and documents from both PLM and PDM to distribution across the enterprise like MES?
Yeah, CLOVER is a pretty unique platform that we have. We talked about, how do you just transfer data between PDM and a PLM if they're different systems? But what if you want to collect information from an ERP and merge that with data from your PLM and PDM and then send it to a supplier or send it into your ERP or MES or something else? So CLOVER is built to be able to understand the data, be able to transform data from multiple systems to one system, or combine data and blast out emails or other things. So CLOVER plays a really good role as and just so everybody knows, it's more of a hub and spoke, and you create jobs and processes inside of it, and you write all your customization there. So that way you manage it there instead of having to write customization in your endpoints. So CLOVER plays a big role in distribution of data, accessing data, understanding when and where to put data, and things like that as well.
Okay, great. Any more questions at all from anyone? I'll give it a couple of seconds. I did see a comment from someone that the presentation did not come completely through in the broadcast. We will be sending out this link to everyone, so you'll have the complete broadcast in your inbox and your email, and I apologize for any interruptions we had in the presentation. Kip, that seems to be it for questions. Any other questions people might have, please feel free to reach out to us at Razorleaf and we'll get you an answer right away.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.